Okay, you want to build your business. You want to grow your practice. You've got great ideas to do that. We all have great ideas for that. Now, how do you get buy-in from your team? The front office, the back office. How do you get them to buy into your brilliant ideas? If only you could do that. If only you could get them to buy in, then you could go someplace. But how do you do that? How do you get that kind of buy-in? Well, that's a big question. It's a big question, and unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time right now, so I can't get into the whole system of how you can do it, but I don't want to leave you hanging. So I do have a resource that I want to tell you about that's available to you. It's on my website. If you go to my website, there's a resources tab up at the upper right. If you click on that, you'll see the online program. It's an online course, 3 modules. Now, here's the thing for you. Normally, the price is $995. I don't want you to pay that. Here's how you can get it for only $597. I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. I don't have a course. I don't have a program. I've got nothing to sell you. There's not even a resources tab on my website. I made that all up. But how did you feel just now? What did you feel just now? Slimy? Yeah, disgusted? Oh, like getting up and leaving the room, right? Yeah, none of those are good feelings. You know what you really felt? You felt like you were being sold to. And our natural reaction when we feel like we're being sold to is to resist. And you know this is true because you just felt it just now. As soon as I went into that, you went, ugh, right? That's why buy-in doesn't work. Because think about it. If you're trying to get buy-in, then the implication is that you're trying to sell something. And nobody likes being sold, even when what you're trying to sell is good. So if you're trying to get buy-in from your team and you wonder why you're hitting resistance, it's because it's human nature. Okay, so what do you do instead? If buy-in doesn't work, you still have these great ideas, you want your team to be on board, buy-in's not going to work. What is going to work? Here's the key. Here's what I want you to do from now on. Stop trying to get buy-in and start giving ownership. Now, here's what that looks like. Now, for 15 years, I was the executive producer of a sketch comedy show in Seattle. And every week on Tuesday, we had what we called a pitch meeting. And let me take you to it. Here's what it looked like. It was all of us sitting around a big round table. And during the pitch meeting, we would all pitch our ideas for what could be on the show that week. Now, as the executive producer, it was my call as to what ultimately made it or didn't make it. But here's how I could tell when a sketch was really going to take off. Let's say one of my writers, Bob, had a sketch idea. And he starts reading the idea. And all of a sudden, Nancy over here pops her head up. She says, oh, that would be a great role for Tracy. And then Tracy says, oh my gosh, yes, I could wear that red wig that we wore on the sketch 2 weeks ago. And then all of a sudden, Pat would say, what if the boss had an Irish accent? I can do an Irish accent. I think that might really help. And then Ralph, my photog, our videographer, would say, oh, but what about that line? I'd see that being shot with a fisheye lens directly into the camera. And now, do you see what's happening? Do you see how the energy changes? Because now everybody is taking a little bit of ownership into their little part of that sketch. And now they've got skin in the game. Now they have a vested interest in the outcome of that sketch. They all want the sketch to succeed because it's a part of all of them, of all of us. All right, so let's bring this back to your practice. You've got the great ideas. You want to get this incredible synergy that we had with our show. You want to get that with your team in your practice. How do you do it? How do you give that ownership? Well, here's the secret. With your practice, you're basically the executive producer of your practice, just like I was the executive producer of my show. You're the leader. You're the boss. You're the executive producer. Here's the technique. Here's what you do. You know where you want to go with your practice. You know where you want to take the practice. So you know the where. That's your job. You share that with the team. You share the what. Here's where I want us to go. Here's what I want us to accomplish. You may even have a when. I want to accomplish this by this date. I would love for us to grow our revenue 15% by March 17th of next year. Whatever it is for you, and there may be many of them. But here's the key. You give your team the when and the what and the where. You don't give them the how. Now, you may have the how. You may have this all plotted out with spreadsheets and flow charts, and that's good. That's good to have that. But if you give them the what, the where, the when, and the wow, that leaves nothing for them. There's nothing for them to sink their teeth into. There's nothing for them to think, this is ours. But if you give them those first three and let them surprise you, and the word is surprise you with the how. You give them the what, the where, the when, and let your team surprise you with the how. You'll be amazed at what they come up with. You'll be amazed at the creativity that your team already has. You may already have a how written out. Their how may be very different than yours, and it may be very much better than yours. But at least once they start doing that, now all of a sudden, they start to have that sense of ownership. Your idea now becomes their idea. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with that. You have to be willing to let your ego go. Look, you can either protect your ego or grow the practice. It's your choice. But we will defend our own ideas far more passionately than we'll defend somebody else's. And your team members are the exact same way. Think of what Harry Truman said once. I love this quotation. Harry Truman said, "It's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit." So if you want to hit your targets, if you want to engage your team, if you want to grow your practice, stop trying to get buy-in and instead start giving ownership.